Szymon, welcome.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much for inviting me to share my thoughts on the new version of PRINCE2 Agile.
Excellent. So for those who don't know you, Szymon Pawlowski has huge experience in project management. He's a strong track record of designing and implementing solutions across projects, programs, portfolios, and in risk management and PMO domains. So a man of many skills. He is currently the internal subject matter expert at PeopleCert, who takes care of the continual development of the PRINCE2 portfolio. And that means that as well as the core PRINCE2 product, it also includes PRINCE2 Agile, MSP, MOP, MOR, P3O, and P3M3. But he is the PRINCE2 Product Architect, which means he's the co-author both of PRINCE2 version 7, which is this here, and also PRINCE2 Agile version 2, which is why I wanted to speak with you today about PRINCE2 Agile. It's pretty new, so I wondered if you could start us off by giving us a brief overview of what PRINCE2 Agile is.
Okay, so brief overview, but this is a very broad question. So, okay, let's start with positioning PRINCE2 Agile in comparison to PRINCE2 Project Management method, which is very well known for you, for I think many people who view this interview. So PRINCE2 Project Management method is a method for managing projects of all sizes, all types. This is independent of delivery approach. So we can use PRINCE2 Project Management alongside agile approaches, with linear sequential waterfall approaches, and so on. So it doesn't go into that level of detail at delivery level. So PRINCE2 Project Management is generally flexible, tailorable, and we often say that PRINCE2 Project Management is Agile-ready. You can take a look, for example, at principles of PRINCE2 Project Management. They really support agility, for example, managed by stages. This principle allows for flexibility and adjusting direction at the end of each stage throughout the project. Managed by exception can be translated to empowering teams to decide in their tolerances and so on. So many of PRINCE2 Project Management principles support somehow agile ways of working, or at least enable introducing agility. So this leads us to the conclusion that it is really possible to adapt this method in such a way that it enables managing projects in an agile way. And this is precisely what PRINCE2 Agile offers for project context. So PRINCE2 Agile, we call it tailored or pre-configured version of PRINCE2 Project Management, which is tailored in such a way that the entire method becomes agile. So I deliberately said when used in project context, when used in project environment, because in the new version of PRINCE2 Agile, we also provide guidance for agile teams working outside projects, for in BAU, in operational environment, for example, in ongoing product development. And this new version of PRINCE2 Agile brings together structure and governance of PRINCE2 Project Management method and flexibility, adaptability, and responsiveness of agile ways of working, agile approaches. And we call this combination structured agility. So I will probably say this term many times during this interview, because, this is what we want to offer to people, structured agility. And the goal of PRINCE2 Agile now is to enable teams to successfully deliver projects in dynamic environments whilst keeping governance and control over this work.
Well, I was going to ask you why we need PRINCE2 Agile, but I think you've really given us a good answer for that. Before I ask you my next question, actually, I just want to come back. You said you would use the term structured agility as you go through it. So I just want to take the opportunity to get a clear, if you like, exam answer to the question, what is structured agility?
I would somehow combine this with answering this question, why do we need PRINCE2 Agile? Because it is also about combining governance and structure and control elements from project management with Agile's flexibility and so on. So let's begin by agreeing that currently we need more agility in almost every organization and every kind of activity. In today's world, when we want to remain competitive, we need to be more flexible. We need to respond more quickly to different drivers in the environment, because we have very constantly changing business environment. We need to respond more quickly to changing needs of our customers. We need to deliver quickly in order to compete in the global market. This is our reality now. And this need has become the reason why Agile frameworks, Agile methods become so popular. But on the other hand, these traditional Agile frameworks, we can say traditional because they are 30 or 20 years old, like Scrum, for example. These traditional Agile frameworks, they face many challenges when people try to use them in multi-team and multi-product environment. They work perfectly fine in single team environment. For example, Scrum provides great guidance for a single team, but they struggle, and organizations struggle to use these methods when they work in this environment, when multiple teams are involved, multiple products are developed, and so on. So these traditional Agile frameworks typically do not provide sufficient guidance when, for example, we are dealing with dependencies on other products, with other products or projects. When within single initiative we are developing multiple interrelated products which require different delivery approaches. This is often the case. So, for example, in construction industry, or in automotive, we have some IT elements in them which require different delivery approaches and so on. These Agile frameworks struggle to support real agility when, for example, teams from different organizations are involved, which use different delivery methods, and for example, when we need to compare financial viability at portfolio management level, we need to compare financial viability of our project or product with other projects that are competing for the same resources. So this is interesting thing, because this causes that many organizations are now currently kind of disappointed with Agile, because simply introducing Agile framework at the team level is not enough. And there are various research studies that indicate that in recent years, satisfaction with Agile method has significantly declined, and this reveals some gap between our expectations of Agile and the actual results we have when we do Agile adoption. And what is the reason for this? What is the cause? There is a clash of two words here, where there is a lack of mutual understanding. So on the one hand, managers, traditional managers, do not understand the need for Agile teams to have certain degree of freedom. They often fail to understand that it is specialists who know who have the most knowledge, who know the best how to deliver product, how to shape the final solution in details. Managers often would like to impose their point of view and manually control everything, and they follow this command and control approach. And under such circumstances, with such managers, introducing Agile at delivery level may only cause some kind of frustration, and it will never be successful. But on the other hand, Agile people working in Agile teams, they do not understand the needs of senior management, the needs of managers who have to make decisions, and these decisions should be based on some reliable data. So I often, in my consultancy journey, I encountered such situations when people working in Agile teams were so focused on their needs for freedom, for self-management, that they failed to understand that managers need to know when work on their products will be completed, what benefits, even approximately it will bring, and these managers have to decide whether to invest in their organization's resources in these products or another, and so on. So managers need information, and for this they need some level of control and governance. So now, what can we do to balance these needs of these two worlds? So agile people and people from upper layers of management. So our answer is this structured agility. So this is where we aim for. So this structured agility, on the one hand, empowers team to self-manage, gives them some freedom to shape their working methods, to decide on details of the product. But on the other hand, this structured agility provides certain level of control, introduces sufficient governance at this that allows these upper layers of management to make informed decisions and so on.
PRINCE2 Agile, like all the other standards, is also a certification program with two levels, I believe, foundation and practitioner, like the main PRINCE2. Who should be considering PRINCE2 Agile certification? Who's it really aimed at?
Okay, so we can discuss first industries and sectors, and then people. So in terms of sectors and industries, it's easy to answer because PRINCE2 Agile can be used in all sectors or industries. Let's start by saying that today lots of agile ideas have been adopted even in very traditional and heavy industries. And when we say that agile can be used in any industry or sector together with project management, people often refer to this as a hybrid approach. But in PRINCE2 Agile, we don't want to use the word hybrid because it might make people think that there is a strict separation between agile and project management.
Yeah. When we're talking about sectors, I want to stick to the sectors thing because historically, PRINCE2 has been seen very much as a public sector or not-for-profit sector. Its background, its history is in the UK public sector. Do you find that the PRINCE2 side of it weights your the interest you get in it towards the public sector, or is it truly now being used across commercial sectors?
Yes, I think many organizations from commercial sector, many private organizations and business companies, they use PRINCE2 project management method for years now, and I think it started in public sector. But when you look at the content of PRINCE2 project management and PRINCE2 Agile, you can see many references to business justification, which is very important, particularly in private sector. So I wouldn't say that we know the roots, the origins of the method, but generally you can see this in UK, in Europe, in many other parts of the world, in Australia, that PRINCE2 project management and PRINCE2 Agile is successfully used also in private sector. We focus on tailoring the method. So you can tailor the method and you can shape your own set of documents. And I will try to explain how we address this thing in PRINCE2 Agile. But I really think that PRINCE2 Agile and PRINCE2 project management can be used in all sectors and industries.
So then you mentioned that we need to address what sort of individuals. So which people should be thinking of PRINCE2 Agile certification?
When looking at people, we can see generally two main types of audiences. So first is people and organizations who want to become more agile in their work, in projects and in operations and work in more flexible and adaptive way. So this is the first group, people from project management or people from typical traditional operations management that want to introduce agility. And the second group is people who use agile ways of working, but want to scale this from single team environment to multi-team environment, multi-product environment, and they see the need for better control and governance. So the first group, project management professionals or traditional managers, includes everyone who works in projects, so like project managers, people performing other projects roles like project support staff, team managers, project assurance roles. So these are people who Prince2 Agile can be useful for them to introduce or improve agile ways of working in their project. It can be also very useful for project management office staff when they want to introduce more agility in their organizational framework for project management. Consultants, advisors, change managers. So all the people who want to use Agile in their projects. And this group also includes senior leaders, senior managers who wonder why Agile is not working in their organization, who struggle with Agile adoption because we focus a lot on Agile mindset. And there may also be people from operational environment who want to bring Agile into their daily operations, but still need some structure, control, and governance. And the second group are people who are these Agile practitioners, such as Agile team members, Agile coaches, developers, testers, Scrum masters, who may wish to scale Agile up, and they need to enhance their knowledge, their skills to incorporate some elements of governance and control in environment when we have multiple products, multiple teams working together, and so on. And they want to add this to their Agile frameworks.
Excellent. So let's get on and find out a bit about what's in the book. It's big. This is a big volume. There's an awful lot in it. And my assessment is that any project manager who's delivering projects can get a lot from just simply reading the manual. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in there, very well written. But you've been kind enough to offer to explain some of the ideas in there. And the first thing I want to pick up on is the framing for Prince2 Agile is all around the Agile mindset. And it seems to me that there's a big link between that and the concept of BANI, B-A-N-I, which is an update of the more familiar VUCA concept: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. I think most of the people listening to this will now be familiar with VUCA as a framework, but probably less familiar with BANI. So can you start off by explaining what BANI is and how that influences your concept, or the Prince2 Agile concept, of the Agile mindset, please?
Okay, thank you. And very good question. So, it is exactly how we perceive the VUCA BANI and how it shapes how it shaped our approach to our thinking about how to structure Prince2 Agile. So VUCA is probably very well known. BANI is a relatively new concept, which, as you said, may be considered to be an update of VUCA concept. But over time, we noticed that our business world had become even more unstable and more stressful than this described our VUCA concept, so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Events like COVID pandemic and the rise of AI at large scale made this ongoing change in the business world even faster, even less predictable. And this led to creation of the BANI model. And BANI stands for Brittle, which means that rigid structures, rigid systems are vulnerable to change and can break easily under stress. Anxious, which means people feel more pressure, and people now feel more pressure and uncertainty. Non-linear means that there is no exact match and very predictable match between causes and effects. So it's very hard to predict disruptions. And incomprehensible means that complexity of today's world makes many things very hard to understand or to explain to other people. So in PRINCE2 Agile, we describe both concepts, and together with Agile concepts that can be applied to respond to each of these challenges. But without going into very much detail, we can summarize this by saying that BANI helps us see that we need flexibility and resilience. So we need organizational agility. This brings us to concept of organizational agility, which means that organization which has this agility is able to be flexible, to be responsive to different drivers in environment, to respond to change by adapting adapting their course. I need to emphasize here that this organizational agility does not mean that we only use agile frameworks at delivery level. It requires much more. It requires agility at strategic level, in portfolio management, project management, program management. And when talking about organizational agility, we focus on differentiating two things: doing agile and being agile. Doing agile is just using agile frameworks, techniques, following agile processes, rituals, and so on. But being agile is thinking, acting, behaving in agile way. And for real agility, we need both being and doing agile. And in many organizations, what I experience is that they focus on doing agile. So they followed agile frameworks like Scrum or any other frameworks. They used processes and so on. But to be really agile, it requires some culture and mindset, allowing for experimentation, allowing for learning from feedback, and so constant adaptation, and so on. So we need to adopt the agile mindset. This is why in PRINCE2 Agile we put particular emphasis on this concept of the agile mindset. We believe it's key element for the successful adoption of agile. And please let me explain what agile mindset consists of. We describe 6 key characteristics of the agile mindset, and they form CREATE acronym. So to create agile mindset, we need to make sure that we introduce these key concepts. First is collaboration. So agile ways of working. Agile mindset emphasizes importance of working closely together, co-creating solutions. And this is not only about teamwork. This is primarily about creating culture of shared ownership. Mm-hmm. This is very important. Then the next element, next characteristic is respect, which covers 2 elements: empathy and open-mindedness, which means all voices are valued and all diverse perspectives are embraced, which brings the concept of psychological safety to life. And the next key element is empowerment. So Agile ensures that teams have appropriate level of autonomy, that teams are able to self-manage without the need of constant oversight and command and control approach. The next thing is adaptability, which means that we continually assess our work, what we deliver, also how we work, what tools and techniques we use, and we make necessary adjustments. Then we have transparency, which means Agile fosters culture of rich communication where information flows openly, with use of visuals, with clear visibility of the status of work. And the last element in this CREATE acronym is E, stands for exploration. Agile mindset encourages teams to experiment, explore new ideas, to continuously learn based on these experiments. And this also means that we need to be open to any change that is needed. So this is what agile mindset, the agile mindset means to us, we can say that this is the fuel to adopt agility in the whole organization, to scale agile up from single team level to larger initiatives such as projects. In PRINCE2 Agile, we focus on projects, but also program management level, at portfolio management level. So we provide a lot of guidance that can help in agile transformation in the organization. And this is focused on adopting the agile mindset. This agile mindset lays the ground for everything. It permeates all the elements of the method, the way we perform processes, the way we share information in our management products. So all the agile tailoring that is described in PRINCE2 Agile has its grounds in the agile mindset.
Splendid. Now, sitting on top of that, or underneath that, I suppose, conceptually, there's just a whole raft of interesting ideas in PRINCE2 Agile. And you've kindly offered to pick out 3 of the ideas within PRINCE2 Agile that you think are really key and will be really interesting to our audience. I think the first of them was around collaborative performance of the process. Can you explain what that is and why that's important?
Yeah. Okay. So generally in PRINCE2 Agile, we follow PRINCE2 project management processes. So we begin with starting of a project in the pre-project phase. So we use exactly the same overall process model. But the key difference is that we use all the 7 processes. The key difference lies in the way we perform these processes. So for each process, we describe 1 or 2 agile workshops, which are used to collaboratively work to define, to co-create our artifacts, our management products, to define our objectives in a collaborative and inclusive way, our objectives, to define our scope, our stages, iterations, ways of working, and so on. And let's have an example. Let's take initiating a project as an example. So in this process, we introduced 2 workshops. First is project initiation workshop, during which we define our management approaches. So how we manage risk, how we manage benefits, how we manage commercial aspects, and so on. We also collaborate how we manage quality. So we collaboratively define our definition of ready and definition of done. We also plan the whole project at high level. We update our business justification artifact, which is called the project canvas, with new information from planning. And we have the second workshop, which focuses on people, on psychological safety. When we develop our team values and norms we would like to follow in our projects, when we assess our skills, when we do our decision-making arrangements. So this is just an example of for one process, but we have these agile workshops defined for each process. And what is, I think, very important is that in directing a project, typically in PRINCE2 project management, this process consists only of project board's decisions. But we've also added workshop to this process. It is called Agile Enablement Workshop. And in this workshop, we focus on risks and barriers to adopting Agile in our project. So this workshop ensures that the project board, members of the project board, executive, senior user, senior supplier, they are aware of problems and risks arising from Agile adoption. And it is intended to encourage them to actively address all these issues, risks, remove possible blockers related to Agile adoption. And for each workshop, we recommend agenda with topics. Each topic is described with its activities and objectives. We also we even recommend durations for the whole workshop. Of course, these agendas for workshops can be tailored to the needs of specific projects, but it's easier to have something predefined and then tailor than just developing a workshop agenda from scratch. So we decided to recommend some topics for each workshop. key thing when it comes to Agile workshops is that they foster culture of shared ownership. So people participate in workshop and they feel that their voice is heard, and at least some of their ideas are included. And this results in higher motivation. Of course, there will be some activities like summarizing workshop findings, documenting them, or ongoing monitoring during the stage. So there will be some activities in the process outside of workshop, but majority of work in PRINCE2 project management processes in PRINCE2 Agile is done through the use of workshops.
And you've used the term artifacts a number of times in describing that. So I think the second key thing that you wanted to pick out was artifacts. So what are Agile artifacts? And, can you give us perhaps an example of just one of them?
Generally, we use the term Agile artifact because we don't want to use the term documentation, and we don't want to use the term management products too much. So in PRINCE2 Agile, another thing that is tailored is the use of management information, how we document and share information. So in PRINCE2 project management, we have a set of predefined management products, and in PRINCE2 Agile, we tailor them to be more visual, more dynamic, to be lightweight, to be easier to share, easier to digest, easier to understand, and to build this culture of shared ownership. They are also collaboratively developed, so they also help to build this culture of shared ownership. So let's have, as an example, let's have two things. So first of all, we replace traditional reports with dashboards, which can be low-tech or high-tech. We can have them in our IT systems, but we also can have them when we log in collocation. We can have them on board on the wall, and dashboards are updated on ongoing basis. So, for example, instead of highlight reports, which are reports from the project manager to the project board during a stage, we suggest that it is a board that shows all the information needed to evaluate progress during a stage and at the end of stage. So we replace highlight reporting and end stage reporting with updating the dashboard. So when it's needed, project board can pull information. So this is not the push information approach, but the second element I would like to focus on the project canvas, which is a replacement for the traditional business case document. Generally, the idea behind canvases is to put all information that is the most important on one sheet of paper or one screen or one board on the wall. So it's more visual. It contains only this information that is most critical. And of course, in larger projects, apart from using project canvas, we can also have some supporting information like investment appraisal. If we use methods like net present value, ROI, and methods to calculate the viability of the project, we can have this supporting information, but references to this documentation can be put on the project canvas, or the high-level information is put there. So it is very important because it is easy to digest information from this. This is easier to understand. This can be shared with everyone, and it provides high-level view of what we are aiming to do, what we are aiming to achieve in our project. To summarize, Agile artifacts are more visual, they are more dynamic, they are updated on ongoing basis. Another example can be we replace project product description with project backlog, which is more dynamic, and so on.
So it occurs to me that project canvas, dashboards, even backlogs, they're not new. You've introduced them into PRINCE2 Agile, and I think that's absolutely right. I'm just wondering, are they going to back propagate into PRINCE2? Because these are tools that they might have found earlier use in Agile, particularly the idea of backlogs. but they are applicable to all forms of project management. And as you say, Prince2 is agnostic about what type of project management framework we use. So do you foresee Prince2 8, for example, having the same kind of focus on artifacts like dashboards and canvases and backlogs?
I think that we will have more agile concepts are used together with traditional management approaches, and even these heavy industries use more and more agile concepts. So I think that it will. This will be this direction, that we use more and more agile concepts. But some projects will benefit from using traditional project documentation. In some contexts, in Prince2 Agile, we have a tool that is called Agilometer, and it is used to assess how suitable Agile is for our project. So for example, you assess such elements like flexibility of what is being delivered. So this means that you assess if your scope is flexible, so you can add requirements, remove them. So in heavier industries like construction, scope is not very flexible. In IT, scope is very flexible. We can add features, remove features, replace features, and so on. So the key thing is that you need to assess how much agile you can benefit from. So even not how much agile you can use, but how much agile you will benefit from. Because the real question is not whether we use agile or not, but how much agile we can use and how much agile we will benefit from.
Interestingly, I think you've kind of led us towards the third thing that you told me you were going to talk about, which is the way that Prince2 Agile handles changing requirements, because you've talked about backlogs, you've talked about the fact that heavy industry has fewer opportunities for scope change. So can you talk a little bit about how Prince2 Agile handles changing requirements?
Okay, so we have this clash of two words again. So Agile embraces change. In Agile, change is welcome. Look at Agile Manifesto. One of the principles is that we should embrace change or welcome change at each stage of development. So we see change as something good because it helps us make better product that is better aligned with stakeholders' needs. But project management, when we have a project, we have some end date, we need to meet some objectives to achieve some predefined benefits, and changes in the project, especially these bigger changes, require more control than in, for example, single team working in operational environment. So Prince2 project management will always have had this focus on controlling change. And on the other hand, Agile wants to welcome change, and Prince2 Agile mixes both approaches by controlling large changes, which we call baseline changes, and by embracing changes in detail. So we differentiate between two types of change. Baseline change, these changes typically affect business justification. They include, for example, adding bigger pieces of work, changing priorities of acceptance criteria that are prioritized as must-haves and should-haves. So they can, so removing them, for example, can affect business justification. And these changes still require formal approval and governance, because if we allow them to be introduced freely without analyzing their impact on business justification, it could result to failure to meet our business objectives, or deliver a project that is not longer viable from business perspective. And detailed changes are small. They are some refinements. They improve product without changing the baseline. And this can happen inside iterations and is typically introduced. And so we recommend for introducing, so embracing this change on detail level, we recommend to use reprioritization of user stories or criteria in users, acceptance criteria in user stories, or by trading or swapping requirements or user stories, which means we handle emerging change. So, for example, new requirement by replacing one or more requirements that are lower priority, but they that are similar in terms of size and effort. So trading allows teams to remain flexible and adapt to changing needs, detailed needs of final of end customer or end user stakeholder without increasing the overall scope of their work, because we replace lower priority new requirements with lower priority requirements of the same size.
Yeah.
So, in short, PRINCE2 Agile welcomes useful detail level change, but controls big baseline change, which allows us to keep project on track, but towards achieving business objectives. But on the other hand, it allows us to embrace change to make product more fit for purpose, more valuable for the end user.
So if I understand you correctly, you've got a greater adaptability than something like Scrum, which broadly you draw down your backlog to form a Scrum backlog, and then that lasts the whole iteration, the whole sprint. Whereas you're saying we even got within an iteration the capability of trading some changes.
So we can introduce change, but we need to remember that this change is at detail level, and even within iterations we can introduce change. So if this means that we found some better way of delivering something, or a better feature, and so on. So when it's detailed change and this does not have any impact on business justification, on business case, on top project level assessment, acceptance criteria, we can introduce this change during iteration.
Interesting. Excellent. So I think we've had a really good introduction to what PRINCE2 Agile is. You've given away some of the secrets of what's in the standard, in the thought leadership within the book. Can you just give us an indication of, if someone's thinking, you know what, I think PRINCE2 Agile certification could be for me. Can you talk us through some of the logistics of going through the certification process?
Okay, so I think the best way to learn PRINCE2 Agile and to certify in PRINCE2 Agile is to take course from one of our accredited training organizations. We have large network of partners around the world who deliver PRINCE2 Agile courses. So this is probably the best way, because you will have trainer who will explain to you various concepts that are covered in the method, and you can ask this trainer to explain what is not understandable for you. But you can also choose, people can also choose to study on their own using our e-learning product, which can be purchased directly from PeopleCert at our website, peoplecert.org. This is a great solution for people who prefer to learn at their own pace, or for those who cannot afford to take several days off work. So these are two paths to certify. Of course, the first and primary reference to learn PRINCE2 Agile is the official book, which can be purchased on Amazon. Then, in terms of certifications, you need to take first foundation, and only then you can take practitioner. So this is not possible to have PRINCE2 project management foundation and go directly to PRINCE2 Agile practitioner, because there are too many differences. So this is now standalone certification. And if you're familiar with exams for any products, there are no significant differences. So foundation is closed book exam. We have 40 questions in this exam, 60 minutes. Pass mark is 60%. And questions are on Bloom's level 1, which means you need to recall concepts, terms, definitions. And Bloom's level 2, which means you need to understand the concepts included in the syllabus. Practitioner level, these questions are at Bloom's level 3 and 4. Level 3 is apply. So this exam is scenario based. We use one of the scenarios that are described in the book. And Bloom level 4 question, which is analyze. So based on the scenario, you need to answer to questions that are still multiple choice questions with one correct answer option, but they are based on scenario, and you need to choose this question that describes the correct application of PRINCE2 Agile, or you need to analyze if this is appropriate application, and so on. PRINCE2 Agile is an open book exam.
Excellent. And that's exactly as it should be, because, and I will put a link to an explainer on Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is an approach to understanding. I think there's 6 levels of learning, and they get more deeper and more sophisticated as we go up. And I think open book is quite the right thing if you're not testing people's knowledge of what's in the book, but their understanding of how to use that knowledge. One thing you didn't say, but I believe is true, is that there is no prerequisites for taking the PRINCE2 Agile Foundation program. So anyone who has a good understanding of the basics of project management, I mean, I think you probably would want some grounding, but you don't need any formal certification to.
Yeah, you don't need any formal certification or education. But even if you don't have basic project management or basic Agile knowledge, you can take PRINCE2 Agile course, and it will introduce you to the concepts of both project management and Agile.
Yeah, excellent. So you've mentioned the peoplecert.org website. Put a link in the description. Are there any other important addresses for people who want to either get in touch with you personally and follow you, or want to find out more about the certification or the ideas within the practice?
Okay, so to reach me, I think the best option is to use my LinkedIn, the connection on the LinkedIn with me. We'll provide the link in the description. And peoplecert.org, and then you can look for PRINCE2 Agile. But generally, you can find all the information on PRINCE2 Agile and any other products in our PRINCE2 portfolio on peoplecert.org.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Szymon. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a mass, and that's not, counts the fact I've had a good kind of look through the book. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time, and I have to say thank you very much to PeopleCert for sending me review copies of the 2 manuals. It's been really helpful to me and to my audience. So Szymon Pawlowski, thank you very much.
So thank you very much for this opportunity to share my thoughts about PRINCE2 Agile with a bigger audience. Thank you.
Please do give us a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll be creating loads more great project management content, so please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.